Hey Joe, yeah, happy to sit here with you. But at the same time, I thought I'd
Great.
relate an experience with you as well. Not necessarily a question as such. I've been delivering a lot of leaflets lately, and around the Doncaster area, a very glamorous job. And but it's also very meditative as I go from one door to another, put a leaflet through, etc., etc. And so, because I've been doing this 8 hours a day, 3 days a week, it's been, nice weather, etc. And I've been doing a sadhana, a spiritual practice, as in like something Rupert Spira said a few weeks ago on a video that I saw, and he said, just as the way that there's no time, all there is now, or this moment, or whatever you want to call it, ahead. You can't jump ahead to the future. You can't jump back to the past, etc. And I think that's very. It's talked about a lot in spiritual circles. I think less than space. I don't know whether, from what I've experienced anyway. So Rupert Spira explained about space and about how you can't jump from here to there or to anywhere. Obviously you can jump, but you can't transport yourself as in Star Trek or whatever. So I was practicing this as I was going door to door, giant driveways. There could be terraced houses, or there could be like sort of long steep drives, nightmare houses. It doesn't matter, because I was practicing just being here still and realizing that the whole world is an illusion, and that it's almost as though it's moving, that the world is moving, my body's moving, and I'm staying still, including thoughts, including emotions, etc., things like that. Mm-hmm. So just going through from place to place, and I'm thinking, this is the best job in the world. And so I was really sort of flowing with that. But also, as a side note, I noticed that before I'd see a shortcut from one house to another, and I'll think, oh great, I'm having that, and jumping into it, and I'd see that as like sort of a little like sort of a dopamine hit would come, and now I'm aware of it. I'm thinking, in this state of mind, I'm walking, and it doesn't matter what I do, because there is no doing, there's just stillness. So even if I need to go right to the other side, right back over the driveway, through a gate, and down steps, and up steps, whatever, to this thing, and then come back without having a shortcut, then it doesn't matter. It only matters to the mind, or it only matters to the identification with the mind. So in a like type of egoic sense. So they were just like sort of a couple of a couple of epiphanies, if you like, small epiphanies that throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's a very beautiful observation. I had a similar one many years ago in Rishikesh, where I was walking, and I realized that I'm not moving. Everything else is apparently flowing, and consciousness is not actually moving. And you could not prove either way, because it's relative. It's like when you're sometimes sitting on a train at a station and the other train moves and you think you're moving, and without the reference points you could not know. So in some ways it's more like a confirmation of your understanding that the mind's illusion is feeble, but it's not something special, because it doesn't matter whether I'm moving or whether everything else is moving. It's irrelevant. But these realizations are to be enjoyed and then discarded, because they're not really, doesn't really matter who's moving what, but they're very profound. It's sometimes people, I never do this, but some people promote certain substances to try and aid spiritual progress, to show that the mind, whatever, but they end up doing it on a weekly basis. Right.
So
But
it's an
once
addiction.
you understand that your mind is creating everything, and you start to see behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, you don't have to keep looking behind the curtain. You just inherently know it's feeble, and then you start to apply it to other areas of your life. And what I like about this anecdote that you're sharing is it's very relaxing to be able to do things without the mind bullying you along to a clock, or telling you you're tired because there isn't a shortcut. You've got to come back out of the path and walk around, and you can't just go through the gate. So your mind will be like, this is rubbish, I hate that. And I often observe here in Thailand, I sometimes joke and I say, look, my whole spiritual path is just to become more Thai. Because, for instance, I have a gardener, and my gardener can do, 25-meter hedge, and he does it in a way that he's only doing one thing at a time. I never see him put his tools down and think, bloody hell, look how much more I've got to do. Right? He doesn't get into that space. I have a cleaner here that's been with me for a very long time. I've never, ever seen her sigh. Like if I'm doing a kitchen, I'm like, what? Like if there's still more to do. So that teaches me that this is something I've learned. So when you start to understand, basically what you're really talking about here is the mind's illusion is visible to those who pay attention. And once you see that, you can apply it to your life. And now when I do things, there isn't like, if my mind starts to create suffering, I know how to call it in to heal. You say, no, right? Like, I'll go the long way. And I know these sound very simple, but it's just what you're doing is you're making friends with your own mind. You're making friends with you're developing a healthy relationship with your own mind, so that you are the master of it. It flashes the illusion, and you go, "Oh, that's a good one," haha, and then you carry on. When before you might have been totally lost to it, as I once was. And in the Buddhist teachings, they talk about this. They talk about first your mind is your enemy, then it becomes your friend, and then it becomes your teacher. Right? Because you develop such a great relationship with the mechanism of mind. We can call it the nature of mind, right? So that insight, you understand more now about the nature of mind. And there are certain schools that they call this entire teaching, not in Advaita Vedanta, but in more the Tibetan paths. They just call it the study of the nature of mind. You see, so these are wonderful things, and there's so many of them. There's so many of them that come to play. For instance, one I always have, whenever I go to do yoga, my mind tells me I hate yoga. Yet I've never, ever had a yoga session I wish I never did.
It lies to you, doesn't it? Well, not lies to you, but it's just like it's a bit harsh. But it's
trying
just
to protect you.
protect
It's
you.
always trying to protect you. It's trying to protect you from emotions, sensations, and feelings in ways it's learnt to from its causes and conditions, right? But they are mostly ineffective, or they have stopped working, or they worked at one point and then they stopped working at another time. I was talking to a friend today who said that one of the worst thoughts he had was he watched a wildlife show and the gazelle got attacked, and his brain went, good, the gazelle deserved it. Right? Now, it's very great for him to share this, but obviously he doesn't believe that. What the mind is doing is preventing him from feeling the empathy for a vulnerable animal being attacked. So all of these mind things are just ways that we've learned to protect ourselves as children, mostly, right? And they become ineffective, and they leave what you might call trauma traces in the mind stream that somehow, even though it's pure space, they manage to refract the light in a certain way that becomes detrimental to our human life. They don't affect you consciousness, but they affect your human life. So this is why in the work that I do, I promote both paths. I promote awakening, which is the recognition that you are free, and from that place of freedom, get radically familiar with the nature of your mind to become more beneficial in your life as a human being. Because otherwise, if we don't do that, nothing wrong with this, we can all go and find out where Rana Maharshi lived and rent the flat next door.
Run the space next door.
Rent the
Or the
space
cave
next
or whatever.
door.
Yeah.
Right. And like he was one of the, I think I was saying today, I think he was one of the most profound teachers that's ever lived, because of the safety he offered by wanting nothing. Right.
Yeah.
He wanted nothing from his Sangha. So that's why he came up in conversation. But my point is that not like we don't all want to live that path. A lot of us want to be in relationships, in romance. We want to do work, because the end result of everyone becoming a spiritual teacher like Ramana Maharshi is we will become spiritual teachers like Ramana Maharshi. It's great, but that's not how the absolute works. The absolute is just so unfathomable that you can be a great spiritual teacher and be a dentist, right? So my point is that some of us are called to harness our wisdom as awakened beings and bring it into life areas. And that's when you really want to work with the nature of mind, to work on your trauma traces, to find out how you operate, and use this vast power of presence, not to try and break it or change it, but just to illuminate it. You just illuminate it, and it will become undone by the very nature of your own seeing. Clear seeing is a superpower when it comes to your own internal mechanisms. And it starts, in your case, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, so you've got many experiences like this, but this one's particularly interesting because you're doing this role where you're walking around and it could be incredibly boring for a mind. And you're managed to turn this into, wow, this is amazing. This is so much fun. Look what my mind does. And that is the healthiest approach. I'll just say one one more thing, and then we'll see what anyone else has to share. But my issue with food addiction was torturous until I recognized my true nature. And then it just became a fabulous opportunity to get to know myself that never tires, never gives up, and is always there. It's always creating cravings. What an amazing teacher. It's always given me a new lesson to learn. And it was fabulous for my own awakening. Fabulous.
I suppose each identification has, the biggest spiritual value, hasn't it? I suppose.
That's why I said, yes, go on. And that's why I say in the meditation, I said, every appearance that appears, it's screaming at you in the way that it can by appearing, you are awake. It has its other nature. And some of the things I say might seem strange, but when I look at this headphone case, it's telling me it's a headphone case, but the nature of me perceiving it is also telling me you are awake. And everything is like that. And after a while, the you are awake part becomes dominant because it actually is dominant.
So yeah, just one more thing before you carry on, if that's all right, and that's about different paths to like sort of realization or awakening or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's like to realize that you're awakened more accurately, I suppose. That I tended to relate to this space dimension more than I do the time dimension, because it's harder. I don't know whether this is like sort of anything to do with the apparent apparent thing that, you know, men are more spacious. I've got more of a sense of space than women. I don't even know if that's true, to be fair. But the the path to it, it seemed easier for me than it does time and just thinking now and the future and the past. There is no future and there's a past. I totally understand that intellectually that there's no, you know, it's just a thought, the future and the past, etc. But as far as realization into it and into, you know, and sinking myself into that and being knowing it completely, I find this space dimension easier for some reason. And
describe what you
yeah,
mean by the space dimension being easier.
just as in I just seem to, I don't know, it might possibly be because I was leafleting, obviously delivering leaflets is no,
What can I just interrupt you? What I mean
yeah,
by is that if someone says to you there's no future or past, that's a time dimension.
yeah,
What is it about space that can be said to you that you'd be like, yeah, I get that?
I don't know, maybe I understand, maybe it's a transportation thing, maybe
That
it's something to do
you
with the
can't just
influence of
jump to the
Star Trek.
space.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So that might seem more real to me as a person, as a preference. I don't know, you know.
Okay. More real as in
Yeah,
the
as
fact that
in,
you can't
yeah,
right.
as in
So
identification with things
right.
rather
So you're
than,
less identified with spatial objects than you are with time dimensions.
I don't know whether I don't know whether it's the other way around, to be honest.
What you're saying felt like the other way
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
And
So I'm not
it's
sure, but the thing is this: again, this type of thing is really just it doesn't actually really matter.
yeah,
If you find something that helps you or appears to help that which you think you are become softer, less held on to, less dominant, then go with it. You know,
yeah,
there's all the way from people who cannot abhor these conversations. They hate it. They will switch off. And there's people who love it. And it's just wherever you find yourself, that's where you flourish. It's
yes,
it's like if they do seed balling, where they throw seed balls into a garden, and they're all the same seed balls but thrown in different locations, and some plants flourish in one part and other ones flourish in another, and it's a really healthy way to find out where particular plants flourish in microclimates. For us as remembering on a path of remembering who we truly are, some places will feel more helpful and we just enjoy them until we're ready to move on. This can be teachers, this can be books, this can be practices, whatever it is. Nothing is held on to, just whatever works at that time, enjoy it. At some point something else will appear, enjoy that, and just continue in this blissful journey of Satchit Ananda, the bliss of knowing oneself. So yeah, it doesn't really matter which is which is a preference. Just enjoy whatever there
also
is.
another thing was the realization that there was such, my mind was so full with answers, sorry, with questions that apparently wanted answers. So, and I was going around, I was going, you know, I'd like sort of take a quick look over the last hour of leafleting, and I thought, well, you know, there's been a lot of dialogue there, but I've noticed it all.
I think this job's very
Yeah,
good for you.
it is, isn't
Very
it?
good for you. Great. You're being paid
Absolutely.
to. You're being. I could actually have a retreat and do this as a practice.
I
You
get
know,
paid for this.
you're
Yeah,
getting
I think
paid
so.
for it. So just,
Yeah.
but you'll find, like for me, I can find the spiritual practice in anything I do, even from having to go downstairs to get a screw because I forgot it. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Everything is friends, family, food, work. The whole thing is a spiritual practice because what it is, it's true nature, which you are, that has been blessed with this brain that is operating in a self-created world, and you are going through the process of remembering who you are. So all of it is a spiritual practice, even for those who don't know it. You are fortunate, and everyone on this call is fortunate because you know it's a spirit. You know life is a spiritual practice, but perhaps you can remember when you didn't and how difficult that was.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank
That's
you.
okay.